Hello?
Yo,
Yo, what's up, man?
how you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, thank you for booking with me on Metafy. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you hanging out in my chat as well. It's been super awesome having you around.
Hell yeah,
Um,
man.
so I do want to. I know we only have an hour today, and it's our first time doing a session today. So I'm just gonna get through like the intro stuff that I normally do with Metafy really quick, just so we can jump into it.
Okay.
And then yeah, we can start talking about Sheik and game plans and all that. So
Dope.
basically, yeah, I just want to say thank you for booking. I really do appreciate it. One thing that there's a couple things that I do differently on Metafy. I feel like than other coaches. One thing for sure, which I'm glad is why you booked today, is just to build like game plans around your character, right? I think some people will book like coaches on Metafy, um, just to like be like, oh, this is a good player, and I want to learn from them, sure, and like they get a couple answers out of a session, they do it once, and then it's just done and over. And I don't think
Right.
that really works. I think you could easily like just go read up on resources from other uh, like melee tech sites like melee library, like SSBM tutorials, stuff like that, and like you get that like quick piece of knowledge or whatever, and then either you remember it forever or you forget it, but either way it's kind of there, right? But the way I do coaching, I really like to like build off past sessions that we have together. The session that we're doing today is really good because we're going to start like create basically like a foundation, something that will become subconscious to you while you're playing, hopefully, um, for Sheik, and then it'll be like a blueprint for like everything that you do in each matchup. Um,
Right.
so that's one thing that's good. I think having multiple sessions for game plans is like really important, and I think just for coaching in general, I think a lot of people don't understand that. So I'm really happy that you're willing to give it a shot. I appreciate it a ton. The other thing is these
Yeah, and
sessions. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, and depending on, like how today goes and stuff, I actually was planning on making this a long-term thing.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. I'd be totally okay with that.
Hmm.
What I was going to say was just so you know, this session is being recorded. It'll be uploaded on YouTube privately. So you will have a link to that. I always recommend people when they do have a session before they book a next one. I mean, we couldn't always just do it, right? Like, we could always just do it where you book multiple sessions, like back to back to back, and like you might find that helpful. Personally, I have found it's not really that great. Just from the students' end, I mean, obviously it helps me, and I don't mind doing it, but I think I'd rather see you guys get like the most out of lessons. So, definitely would recommend once the session is over. I know you're playing in the sub tournament today, so like don't worry about watching it instantly if you don't feel like you have the time. But I always recommend before you book another session, go back and watch the original session that we had together, um, and then see if you missed anything because we're gonna be talking a lot in this next hour, and I'm sure you can like hold on and grasp like basic concepts and like the overall themes. But sometimes there's always like little details that kind of fall between the cracks, kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
because there's so much like we talk about. Um, and I noticed that some people really aren't really willing to go back and rewatch the VOD, and I get it. It might not be the best thing, but because it's mostly just speaking, like put it on while you play unranked or something. And if you're playing unranked for an hour or something, play it at 2 times speed or something, and you'll just hear it like just while you're playing, right? Um,
Yeah. No, I'm here to work, man.
okay, sweet. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. I was planning on doing the lesson today, rewatching it because I do know you record all your videos and stuff. I went and watched a couple
Oh, okay,
in the
sweet,
Discord.
nice.
I was planning on doing that, actually working on everything that we talked about today, and then bringing that into my next one, and that type of thing.
Cool. No,
Um,
that's great.
yeah,
Um,
I do know that like doing one or two coachings doesn't really do anything.
yeah, no, it
It's
really
kind of how
doesn't.
my last coach and I operated, and it wasn't helpful.
Sure. Okay.
So
So yeah, no, that's good to hear then. So how I just want to ask just like start off a couple basic questions, just to get to know you better and kind of get an idea of where you're at. I know you said you've been playing a while, but how long have you been playing Melee?
since about 2014, 2015,
Okay, wow. So just about
my
as
dog
long as
did.
me. Yeah. I
Yeah.
I started in 2015. Um,
Yeah,
okay.
Apex 2015 is what really got me into Melee.
Yeah, for me that's my
I've been
first start of it.
competing. I've been competing in games for a very long time. I was actually competing in StarCraft 2 at the time, and I quit that for Melee.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I played StarCraft a little bit, but not like a ton. I only kind of understood like some of the basic roles, and that was it. I never got
Right.
good at it. Okay, so you've been playing since 2015, and you said you played Falco and Puff before. Is that right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually started off as a Marth player
Oh,
and
okay.
then main Puff after that, and then main Falco, and
Mhm.
then main Puff again before I quit playing this last time.
Okay. And how long did you quit
Um,
last time?
Almost a year. I quit around the Me Too movement.
Okay.
Um, my coach was one of the people that got outed.
Okay,
So
gotcha. Yeah, that
I
sucks.
got, it just kind of,
Yeah, no,
I
I get
couldn't take
that.
it. So I
No,
played Rocket League really competitively, got like Grand Champ, and then
dude, that's sweet.
recently there's been a huge cheating problem in the
Yeah,
game.
I heard you're telling me about that.
Yeah, and I was just like I was kind of torn,
Mm.
didn't know what I wanted to do, and then fell back in love with Melee.
Okay, that's good.
Never fell out of love with Melee, but
Yeah, just came back at the right time kind of thing.
yeah,
Um,
it was time.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so when you when you came back, you said no to your other characters, or you tried to learn something new. So with Sheik, or I'm assuming
Well,
you might have played
yeah,
Sheik a
so
little
it
bit.
was just like I was just like messing around in Melee because I was so demotivated about Rocket League.
Hmm.
And I just played pretty much all the characters and stuff, and then just found out that I really have a lot of fun with Sheik,
Okay,
like more fun than I've had with the other characters in the past. So,
sure. So what are you trying to accomplish with Sheik?
um, well, I'm super competitive, so
Mhm.
I'm always trying to be the best player in the world,
Just win as much
whether
as you can, kind of thing.
realistic or not is, another thing, but that's always my goal.
Okay, cool. So you just want to like get as good as possible as quick as you can, basically.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay,
and
cool.
and also in the long term.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, let's start, especially if you want to get as good as quick as possible. I mean, those I think are like I said, like the little like tips and tricks. So I'm really glad you said in the long term as well, because yeah, like I said, my sessions I think are built more around like long-term improvement versus anything anything that like do this quick down smash and you get a good game. Like we could talk about that in like a
Yeah,
second and like you'll just get it instantly, but we don't need to
yeah.
revolve an entire hour around that.
I'm not really interested in that. I'm really more interested in like actually
Yeah, yeah.
getting a really solid foundation this time around
Sure.
because I feel
So,
like that's always what I've been lacking, and just really understand the game on a deeper level and how to play it and
okay.
all that good stuff.
Well, let's start what I think is like the easiest way to kind of break down like long-term improvement. I start with like one character at a time. I spoken to Nun quite a bit about this a couple of years ago.
The homie.
Yep. And we were talking about like how people learn in different ways and how people view the game in different ways. Like he was talking about how he gets memed on sometimes about like he's just this like player that gets in your head so hard and like he has all like the mind reads and he just looks at it like it's a Street Fighter game or something like that. And like you can for sure, but a lot of what he does is just like very like fundamental like basic game plan knowledge because he's been playing since like 2010, and so that's
Right.
like what all the he would just read a bunch on like Smashboards and stuff. But the uh the difference is that what Nunn does with that information is he kind of just like knows what a character should want or like would be looking for, and then he'll like just hard counterplay them basically. And a lot of people aren't ready for that. That's the tricky part. And what I mean by counterplay is like he'll do like an unorthodox read or something, and he makes it flashy in that way. But he's still playing the game like other people. So in terms of like how
Right.
he decided to learn it, yeah, he took it one character at a time. So when I say one character at a time, it doesn't mean you have to like spend the next month focusing on like Sheik Dittos or something. Just 1 week. Like if you're gonna play melee for 1 week and you want to get better at one thing, just practice that one or two things for 1 week at a time, and then move on to something else. I've heard I think Pipsqueak talk about this. It might have been Pipsqueak or Jmook, but I completely agree with this because I've related to it a lot. But I think one thing that's like very common in melee is you'll learn a bunch of little things all at once, and then one day just some of those things will connect with each other, and then all of a sudden you just feel like a big boost in like how good you are as a player. um, there's so many different things in the game, and you could focus on neutral game, you could focus on punish game, you could focus on defensive game, and they all have like their own little quirks, right? Like there's so many different ways you can maximize your punish. There's so many different ways you can like counteract people off a hit with like SDI, alms attacking, slide off, like all that stuff, crouch cancel. So anyway, all this to say, yeah, because today is day one, I think the easiest thing to do would be start with a character that you're struggling to beat or want to learn more about. Talk about like the positives and negatives about that. I'm sure if you've seen some of my other VODs, you might see like what I have for a basic game plan. If not, I'll just paste one in here from a Marth perspective. And we could talk about that.
Yeah, I did notice you're big on game plans, which is pretty cool.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's do that. Let's start with that, and then we'll build off it, like I said.
Okay.
So what character would you like to learn about? In my opinion, I think the Marth the Marth Sheik matchup is like a very straightforward one to learn with Sheik versus some of the other ones. But I'll totally leave the floor up to you on that.
I was actually gonna say in the past, historically, I've always struggled against Marth, regardless of who I'm meaning at the time.
Sure.
So
yeah, we can do that. So I'm gonna just copy paste in here. Just a quick example of what that game plan might look like, and I'll explain like how it works really quick. And then we'll kind of like rewrite it for the opposite perspective, even though you could probably just take one side of it and it doesn't really work, right? So, or change a couple of sentences around is what I meant. But anyway, so this is how I do it. So keep in mind, this is all from Marth perspective, but it's against Sheik, right? So basically what I do, I'll share my screen here so you can see my mouse and what I'm pointing to all the time, is what I'll do is from the Marth player perspective, I'll look at why is Sheik bad against Marth, and I'll basically just reword it for like why is that good for you. So an example is like Sheik is very easy to edgeguard where you rack up a ton of damage or you just kill her straight up. So that's like the first, like the main thing you're looking for. Once Sheik gets off stage, you can keep her there consistently the whole time if you're good enough, right? So what can I do to make this happen? She can't contest you vertically in the air. This is just a fact about the characters. You can't land on top of Marth, right? Because up air and up tilt are both extremely disjointed. She doesn't have any moves to kind of beat that. Not only
I have a ton of PTSD as a Puff main.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's awful. You have to weave your way around Marth. So not only is she bad, like actually attacking Marth, but she's also kind of bad escaping him too. Sheik has one of the I don't know if slowest would be the right word. I just think less far, but she cannot like drift left and right in the air very far. It's the same problem Luigi has, where Luigi actually just has straight up I think the worst. Maybe Zelda might be worse, but for the relevant characters, it's definitely Luigi and Sheik. Which for Marth means that it's very easy to stay underneath her. So because of that, I wrote it down here in the pros for you, just because I like to word the pros for you as like just rewording from the other perspective. Like, this is bad, this is why it's good kind of thing, you know? But
Gotcha.
yeah, so basically, Sheik is simple to edgeguard, which means all you have to do, or sorry, let's ignore this. Let's just talk about this right here. She can't contest you vertically in the air, and she's bad at getting away from you with juggling and just like sharking her in general. Which means you can juggle her with your up air and up tilt, which we talked about. And then at that point, you can stay underneath her easily because of her bad horizontal drift. So she's either forced to trade, which she can't do because of here, right? She can't contest you vertically. Or she has to drift away, which it's hard for her anyway, so you still get a hit. Or go off stage, which loses to most moves, and then then you get to kill her basically, right? That's how you get your kill confirmed. So yeah, that's basically what I'll do is I'll list their biggest weaknesses, and then I'll just reword why that's good for you. And this probably could be reworded instead of pros for you to like why that's relevant or something, right? But it's the same concept. So conveniently enough, I'll do the negatives for you and what strengths for Sheik as well. So these are things we can talk about for how to beat Marth kind of thing. So these are just because this is still like a Marth perspective, it's more focused on like not so much what she can do, just like things from Marth that are bad, basically.
Right.
So we're gonna start with that, and then we'll kind of talk about like why that's important. I'll build off of it for you, so it's more like Sheik focused. But yeah, basically, Sheik has massive hitboxes that are often faster than Marth's and disjointed as well. Examples of this would be back air, forward air, sometimes nair, sometimes up air, but mostly back air and forward air, right? So when you're fighting Marth, like left to right, you guys are both in like a neutral spot, what people say. More often than not, Sheik actually just has like a better hitbox than Marth, or they're a lot easier to place because they're much faster and they're huge. So when you actually do air to air versus Marth, Sheik is actually more likely to win because they're bigger, and they're more disjointed, in some spots, and they're quicker. But Marth, when he places his better, can outrange Sheik, so that's kind of a problem. So basically, she has massive hitboxes that are often disjointed, and she has quick burst range with dash attack. And I list a couple here, like forward tilt, up tilt, dash attack, and crouch cancel. So basically what I'm trying to say, if we were to write this from a Sheik perspective, which I will copy paste this so we can actually, how to beat Marth. How to beat Marth. I would basically reword this as like weaknesses for Marth would be Marth does not like to be in Sheik's burst range. Do you understand what I mean by Sheik's burst range?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, essentially your like main goal for neutral against Marth is the biggest thing, get a grab, right? How do you, if you can't get a grab, which like I think we could agree just from like a beginning perspective, right? The best move Sheik has against Marth is grab. Would you say that's true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most characters.
Yeah.
Against most characters, it's her grab.
So grab can combo / kill him. We'll talk about grab in a minute, because I think that's more like punish game only. I like to start off with neutral because no matter what, these are the things you're going to be looking in for neutral in every matchup, right? But I start off the sentence with like the biggest, or the section with the biggest thing that you want, which of course is grab. At any percent. So Marth will try and avoid Sheik's grab as much as possible, and he'll try and get away from you so he doesn't get grabbed. So what that means is, from your perspective, you have to get in on Marth as much as you possibly can. Now that doesn't necessarily mean right on top of him, because like I said, some of Sheik's moves are pretty disjointed, and they're quick as well with a lot of range. So you don't actually always have to be like right on top of Marth, but you can actually use your range and still have the same hitbox come out. An example of what I mean of this is usually a lot of Fox players, they know, for example, like jab up smash is like a very consistent kill confirm against Marth. And I guess with Sheik too, right? Like jab forward air is pretty consistent. But where a lot of people go wrong is they will consistently be doing the jab right on top of Marth. And that, like, it works. Like if you get the jab and you get to combo into forward air, if he doesn't crouch cancel, he dies, right? So why is that like bad? Basically why it's bad is because you're just giving Marth a little bit of room for counterplay that is just not necessary, right? So like imagine if you did that jab forward air with Sheik at like a perfect spacing and he crouch cancels it and tries and grabs you. Chances are, if you get the jab out quick enough and it's good enough spacing, Sheik's jab is so quick, she pulls her arm back, he won't be able to grab you off it. So what you end up doing is putting out a hitbox that could kill Marth if you get that grab. And if you miss it, you don't die for it, right? Because if he gets a grab, he could kill you. So why I'm bringing up this jab forward air example is because while Marth doesn't like to be in Sheik's burst range, which could be right on top of her, Sheik's burst range is pretty big, right? If I had to draw it out with, I guess I only have a picture of Marth Falco. I haven't taken many pictures of Marth Sheik. But just to give you an example, like if I were to draw it out here, it's pretty close to this. I would say Sheik's burst range is like maybe to this blue flower to Marth. But she goes pretty far with dash attack, right? So
yeah, I mean, from there you could boost grab.
yeah, exactly. So you can definitely get a boost grab. You can get a dash attack out. You probably wouldn't get an F tilt, but you still put it in a range that's kind of awkward for him, right?
Right.
But yeah, basically that's what I'm trying to say is you would want to go from like F tilt range to maybe F tilt to down tilt, or a little bit further out if you want to use moves like dash attack or down tilt. But why it's so scary is because, like I said, you put out those hitboxes that are kind of low risk and will kill Marth, but also it makes it awkward for him to punish it. And then on top of that all, like I said, the aerial example of like the disjoints, that's kind of more of like a scrapping thing. It's not like true theory, but it does work a lot in practice. You'll find that when we talk about game plans, I try and steer away a lot from like perfect theory a lot, like because on paper I think Marth would probably just be the best character in the game if he had like perfect spacing all the time, right? And that's just not really like a real thing you can do. You can kind of just put yourself in situations that make people uncomfortable and force them to do worse options, and then you get to kill them. And it works until like every level in the game, like literally top 10 players in the world.
Yeah.
So I try not to talk about perfect play too much because it's just not realistic for anybody to do. Being in that range with Sheik is extremely, extremely strong, and Marth always is going to have to keep guessing if you can force it a ton, which you can with Sheik. So I'm just going to take a minute. If you have any questions about, I know I've been rambling. I'm sorry for talking so long without giving you much opportunity to speak up, but I'm just going to take a minute to write out what we basically just talked about. So you have like a on paper version of it that isn't so like scattered, because I know we were kind of jumping around while talking there. But if you have any questions while I type it out, absolutely feel free. Like, it's perfectly fine.
Dope. I'm just gonna sit and think about it for a bit.
That's okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so burst range of dash attack, F tilt. I mean, if you want to, we could also just like keep talking, and I could fill this out like later as well. But yeah, I think basically just like the main concept of like this neutral range that you want to start playing in is like really, really important. Because some people are just kind of like moving around the stage wherever, or they'll go on a platform against Marth or wherever, and like you can play stuff, and there's neutral interactions for that too, but this is like your best one you can play at. Okay, Marth's not Sheik's burst range, dash attack, F tilt, boost grab.
So basically, Sheik's game plan against Marth is actually fairly aggressive.
Yeah, no, it is.
I always thought I should try to be baiting stuff for counterplay.
Well, that's
instead,
a good
but
that's a good thing about this range. I'm gonna pull up this Falco example.
and yeah, now that you say that, like, talk about that range, it's like, yeah, that's how you would bait that.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Counterplay. But yeah, I always thought I was supposed to just play like super safe against him, and then like because he could outrange me, and then.
Well, technically, at this range, you're actually outranging Marth. The thing with stage control, that I think a lot of people don't really like hold on to too much, is that hitboxes change depending on like how your character is moving. So what I mean by that, there's actually, we were talking about it in the Atlantic Canada Discord a while ago. I'm gonna see if I can find it. From user Petra. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna search for it, but there's a good picture, so I want to pull it up so you can see it. But basically, the idea is that when characters move, their hitboxes actually change, and a lot of people will just look at a hitbox on like Smashboards or something, and they'll think like, oh, that's just what it is. That's not really how it works in practice, right? Like, think of like puff back air. Puff back air is actually huge, but the hitbox actually changes because your character is moving with her, but the hitbox is still there for that one frame. Does that kind of make sense? I think the picture helps show it a lot, but Um, Basically, why I'm bringing this up is that the range that you want to consistently be playing at, sure, like Sheik forward air is really, like, it's still big, but it only covers like one spot and probably won't hit Marth in that range from if you guys were both standing. But once either one of you start moving, that forward air just becomes that much more of a bigger threat, right? So you still have the ability. Here's the example I'm looking at. So this is actually the same frame of, this is actually the exact same frame of Jigglypuff back air. The top one is Jigglypuff back air in place, but the bottom one is Puff back air. Oh, I can't actually. I'm gonna post this here and just post it, and I'll keep editing like this. The bottom hitbox is Puff back air while she's drifting away, right? And you can see
Really?
it's not a massive difference,
It's
but
a huge difference.
it's big enough, I would say, right? For a range, like it's not a massive difference. What I'm saying, like in this, but in game, this is huge, right?
That's huge, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, moving while you're doing aerials and stuff makes them even more disjointed.
It can make them more or less, right? Because she
Really?
starts moving
Okay.
forward, right? Then all of a sudden, this hitbox gets shifted a little bit backwards, right?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. Because you can see it in the eyes here too, right? Like here it only takes up a little bit, but here it's taking up like, or sorry, here it takes up a lot of her eye, but here it's taking up less, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea basically. The hitbox size isn't actually changing too much. It does, but yeah, it's because of the drift thing. So
Gotcha.
when we talk about ranges and like stage positioning, right? I'm gonna pull up this image again of the Falco. Oh, this is not it. This is not it. Oh my god, where's the DM? Okay, here. Leaking all my DMs. When we talk about ranges, right? Starting from this blue flower, that forward air, which might cover it to like here, seems really big. But if you do a retreating forward air, Marth is approaching you, then all of a sudden, this forward air, which might go to like here, now might go like all the way over here kind of thing, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why even though you still want to be in Marth's face and like really aggressive with him, you can still play safe and play defensive. And like, that's why disjointed hitbox and melee are such a massive deal, because this back air is just that much more safe now, right? Than this one, even though it's pretty disjointed already. It's just even more now. So yeah,
I was always under the impression that the hitbox actually moved with you. So not knowing that now.
it technically like kind of does, right? Like you can see it like in the eyes especially, but it's just the idea of like, this image doesn't show it super well because there's no, it'd be better if there was like an actual ground or like background to this so you can see relative to where she is on the stage. But basically, yeah, the idea is just the hitbox will like, it kind of gets like warped. Like this hitbox isn't actually, I don't believe this hitbox is actually the full, like all three hitboxes are out on this individual frame. This is over the entire back here, you know?
Oh, okay.
So it's like the frames will line up to make this shape eventually. But yeah, that's basically the idea, is that like with movement, hitboxes shift and kind of move with the character, like you said, but they also become more disjointed and less disjointed depending on drift. And that's why drift is such a big deal, right? So
Gotcha.
how you can make like Sheik forward air really scary. Some people will do Sheik forward air, and they'll just do like forward air in place. But do you know what I mean in melee by like a backflip where you kind of like start a jump? Yeah.
Yeah.
When you backflip Sheik's forward air, it contorts her hitbox, so she becomes much tinier. But you can still drift forward when you do the backflip. So you still have the option of like drift forward, neutral, or backwards with forward air, and it's just that much scarier, right? Than if you were to do like a regular one. Yeah, there's tons of different ways to use Sheik forward air, and that's kind of what I mean by like, even when you are scrapping with Marth, like forward air is just a lot better than his, even though his is way bigger. Not only because Sheik's forward air is stronger, but because there's just so much different utility with it. And it's a lot less committal in my opinion. Especially like on landing, right? Like when you land, like I think Sheik forward air like auto cancels just straight up. So
Yeah, you can actually fast fall it.
Yeah, which
And
is
it still auto cancels.
so insane. But yeah,
It's broken.
so if you get in the air first and Marth is on the ground, then you actually just have like a winning position. The only thing he really has to beat that is forward smash, and even then, sometimes Sheik forward air will just like catch his arm while he's starting up forward smash and just own him, basically. So, yeah, the point being, there's a range that you want to play neutral from. Like this range isn't necessarily the blue flower here, and I swear to God, I will send you a picture of this so we actually have like a comparable one for Sheik Marth, but. The idea is that if playing from the blue flower, you don't actually want to be here all the time. This is just where you want to start your neutral from, if that makes sense. Because that gives you like the most options.
That's like where you want to weave in and out of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So
like the position you want to threaten.
Yeah, whether or not you be aggressive or defensive from this flower, like that's totally up to you. Or like the situation, I guess. But yeah, this is like where you want to like start the game from. And the good thing about Sheik versus Marth also, which I should be writing this down, I'm rambling a little too much, but the great thing is that even when you're further away from this, Marth has nothing he can do to hit you with, right? So Marth is scary because he has massive range in every matchup, but against Sheik, his range is kind of like fake in the sense of like when you're far away, he has nothing he can do to range you with, but you at least have needles plus your burst range, which is scarier for him to approach, right? So Sheik actually has a better approaching game on Marth, but Marth has better movement than Sheik. So she can kind of I like to think of it as like Sheik has like a giant like pole she can consistently be poking Marth with like needles. And if you try and hit you for using the pole, she'll just punch you in the face with dash attack or F tilt or something. But why Marth is scary is he has better movement. So he can kind of like weave in and out around that pole and then maybe get an opening on you if you commit to something. So it is really like a poking matchup for sure with both characters. It's just they poke in different ways.
That's what I was going to ask next is like obviously at low percents I want to be poking because I don't want to get CC grabbed.
Yep.
But at what point should I be starting to like kind of work in forward tilt and stuff like that to try to get aside from catching a jump?
So the thing is with playing with percents is if you start like making your game plan around percents to be very like one dimensional, and by one dimensional I mean like at this percent I'm going to do this, and at this percent I'm going to do this, right? It doesn't really like I don't think Smash can really work that way. I think that's an example of like people trying to do perfect play that just doesn't really like function in reality. So okay. I'll give you an example that isn't necessarily percent related, but it's pretty relevant to what we were just talking about. So like we know for sure that at any percent grab can combo or kill Marth, right? So you almost always want to get a grab. That's like the best thing you can get. And it's not even like grab is the most committal thing to fish for, right? If you miss a grab, oftentimes if Marth spot dodges it, you can just grab again and kill him, you know? So we could say like, let's say at 30%, I know I'll still get CC'd by most things by Marth, but I can still grab him and that beats crouch cancel. I'm going to go for grab. And it's like if the Marth knows you're going to go for grab, he's going to just do his grab counterplay, right? So the way I like to play percents, rather than think of it in a way that's like, at this percent, I should be going for this, you could frame it that at this percent, this becomes unlocked, right? So like I'm throwing out a random number because truthfully, I don't know my crouch cancel percents enough. Yeah, that's what I was
kind of getting at is like, when does my forward tilt become unlocked? And
yeah. So I'm going to use back air as an example because it's less straightforward, or it's more straightforward than forward tilt, but I'll explain forward tilt as well. So let's say at like 30, back air gets crouch canceled and you get grabbed, right? But at 40, it doesn't. So now you can do a back air and not be worried about landing on Marth, right? So before 30, back air is still an option. You just have to go for the disjointed space one so that he can't punish it directly, or at least get a big punish off it. But later in percents, like I said, that back air becomes unlocked. So now you can just do a strong back air landing on Marth that's like not properly spaced, but it doesn't matter as much, right? If you think he's going to try and crouch cancel grab you. So that's like the basic version of it, of like, think of percents like this becomes unlocked, or this is like better now, but you still have all your other threats that you normally have, right? And what I mean by the other threats is just like forward tilt. Forward tilt will become unlocked at higher percents because it can't get crouch canceled. It'll knock down or just pop him up. But you can still threaten forward tilt even at 0, right? Marth is still scared of getting hit by forward tilt if he dashes into it by mistake. So you could do like a wave dash F tilt and catch him off guard. And sure, it might not get a ton, but you still get something off of it. And
yeah, and I know you can like still like wave dash forward tilt as like a bait to
yeah,
try to like,
exactly.
it can go deep to where I can crouch cancel whatever the
Yeah.
counterplay is. But
So that's basically how you should just look at it. Is like at 0%, some stuff is just more risky because Marth has like he's basically at his strongest, but you can still threaten it for sure and still use it, and it probably still does have utility. But at later percents, you just basically have more options. You become a better character at those higher percents, right? Or worse, depending on what type of character. But in this matchup, Sheik Marth, Sheik becomes a lot better when Marth is at high percent. Because basically that means he can't get close to her at all, right? Or he just dies. So
right.
that's when your poking becomes a lot stronger. I know we're talking about a lot of different things right now. And I'm sorry we haven't like had much time to like write this out.
Oh, no worries.
Talk
Yeah,
about it.
sorry. I keep asking questions.
No,
so.
it's good that you are, right? Because I'm sorry I haven't had time to write it out so you can like visually see it on here. I'll probably just end up writing it all after our session.
That's fine.
Because it's a lot. But I think we're basically just going into the basic like neutral position that you want to play from, right? About how poking kind of works, like how do percents work, why you can go for certain things, why you can't. And these ones, like I like to call a lot of these things that I'm writing down in matchups. Like I'll use the Marth Sheik example versus the Sheik Marth one. But in the Marth Sheik one, like I think all these lines are just like objective truths about the matchup, right? Like there's nothing she can do to change how bad she is in the air. Like she just objectively has a bad drift. Similar to moves that are like objectively safe to use at certain ranges, like F tilt, up tilt, dash attack, crouch cancel. Those are just really good moves for Sheik to use in neutral. They're very low committal compared to anything else that she has, right? Like if F tilt versus forward smash example, they both cover like right in front of you, but clearly one has more use, one less range, or sorry, more range, more kill power, more combo ability than the others, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is it's good that we're talking about the neutral, like scrap and poking and all that. I just feel bad that I haven't had time to actually write out the objective truths for this matchup, you know?
You're fine.
But yeah, no, it's okay. But yeah, like this is something we're going to be referencing to a lot when we talk about any future sessions. Like, what are the objective truths in the matchup kind of thing? But yeah, so yeah, similar to the back air F tilt example of like, it becomes unlocked. That doesn't mean you can just go for it also always, right? There's still always going to be counterplay. It's just like grab, right? So, but yeah, that's pretty much the idea of it. Like, and that's why neutral I think is a lot of fun. Is like, regardless of percent, the options are always different, and whether or not an option is good or bad isn't really like, there's no good or bad in neutral. It's just like right or wrong at the time, you know, if that makes sense. So
that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that's basically how it works. And why I have these little like italics lines of like, what can I do to make this happen? What is going wrong in my game so that this isn't happening? That's how I kind of look at VOD analysis. And that's kind of like an easy way to frame it around, right? So like once we have all these truths written down, we could watch a video of you playing Marth or Sheik, or you can even ask these questions while you're playing to like adapt to your opponent. Like, okay, I want to be hitting grab. Why isn't this happening? What can I do? And then you just kind of make that adaptation just from that, you know? So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling for a bit. I'm going to type this out and think about it for a second. But again, don't feel bad about asking questions. It's totally okay. Okay. Grab can combo, kill Marth 30%.
I've just had a ton of questions over the years.
No, that's totally fine.
About neutral specifically, because that's you know, that's why I'm not going far in tournaments, is because I'm losing neutral.
It can be. I would argue at lower levels, especially like punish game, is why people aren't going far in tournaments.
Yeah, but like punish game, I can work on myself. You know.
Yep.
It's like
absolutely. I mean, technically they're all intertwined if you want to get deep about it, but yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
because like if you can't threaten the punish, then things suddenly don't become respected and neutral. It
Yep.
doesn't.
I'm just gonna order these in terms of like furthest ranging. I think that'd probably be helpful. So like dash attack, boost grab. I'm pretty sure dash attack goes further than boost grab. I know boost grab goes pretty far, but okay, dash attack, boost
I
grab.
think um
Actually, you know what? I'll
I
just do
think they're
this.
about the same because
Slash.
Sheik's dash attack is really like the hitbox is like in the middle of her body.
Yeah. I
It's
was
not
gonna
in front of
say
her.
either way, regardless, I'm probably gonna just do it like this, where I put dash attack slash boost grab. Because I think if you're committing to the dash forward grab versus dash forward attack, it's pretty much just the same range, just different mix
Yeah,
up as
pretty
to like
much.
which one you're going for. So yeah, dash attack, F tilt, and up tilt are a certain range. Jab goes further than grab. Jab, and then grab, and then crouch cancel. I'm just gonna write CC if that's okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. So, yeah, basically, these are like your best moves versus Marth. Some people will argue that down smash is really, really good. Personally, I think down smash is better reserved for Sheik as like a. Some people use it as like a really bad scoop. I think. I think if you watch a lot of like old melee, especially, people will use with Sheik. They'll just literally run up down smash on people jumping.
Dreffin.
Yeah, draft. Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah.
Dreffin.
Um, it's good, right? But I think in 2023 melee, where people are able to like practice tech skill and like grind spacings out and stuff, I think that's just like a very lazy option. I think that's like literally the equivalent of like
I agree.
run up F smash or like just like dash attack, like the Marth said dash attack all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I think just run up, like run cancel F tilt. It's just so much better and it kind of does like exactly that. So I think down smash has its utility for sure. It can beat people jumping in. It can beat crouch cancel at certain percents. And honestly, in a scrap where people are like doing the crouch cancel spot dodge game, whatever, I honestly don't think down smash is bad even there because it kind of beats both of them in that
That's
spot.
normally where I use it is
Yeah,
like a get off me or
that's what I'm
you know
saying.
like a cover spot dodge.
I
But
definitely think it's like good for that in particular.
even then, I still try to use up smash instead because it actually leads into a combo.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's strictly just like a, I don't know how to describe it, but I think of it as like Mario down smash, where it's like it's a strong move and you might get a kill for it if you're in the right spot for it, but generally it's just gonna knock someone down and then you play neutral again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not really, and especially in the Marth matchup, I'm not really that much of a fan of down smash. I think it's a gimmick at best, because he can even shield SDI in and still like just raw grab you for down smashing, even if sometimes it's not grabbable, but if the Marth knows and is ready for it, it absolutely is. So it's kind of bad. So I'm not going to
Yeah.
put down smash as one of like the burst range options, even though technically it could fall in there. Yeah. So Marth does not like to be in Sheik's burst range. It's a pretty good get off me, but yeah, that's basically that. So
It's just not a hit confirm. So it's just like
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's such a long move that if they're ready for it, they can just punish me for it. So
Okay, so we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna frame this in terms of like weaknesses for Marth that you're looking to abuse, right? So grab can combo Marth. He doesn't like to be in Sheik's burst range, and we talked about the moves and stuff like that. He struggles to win up close air to airs.
oh, I've also wondered this since I started playing again.
Sure.
Can Sheik crouch Marth's jump cancel grab?
I
Like
don't
buff?
believe so. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wondering because I noticed her crouch is pretty low. So
Yeah. She can crouch Marth's get up attack though. Like from a tech chase.
yeah.
Yeah, she can grab. She can crouch under that, but I don't think so for grab.
Okay.
He struggles to win up close air to airs. and gets threatened a lot by her CC game. CC, in my opinion, especially at lower to mid levels, I don't think people abuse crouch cancel nearly enough with Sheik. I know the meme is that Sheik is really bad with crouch cancel, and I think people just kind of have that in their head of like, because Sheik is bad at dealing with crouch cancel sometimes, her crouch cancel game isn't good. But in this matchup especially, Sheik is one of the best crouch cancel games in the whole game. Crouch cancel with Sheik, with like crouch cancel jab, crouch cancel grab, is insanely broken, and it beats like almost all of Marth's aerials. It's really
Except
really
like
good.
Dare, right?
It'll beat Dare at like low percent, like 0. It's kind of like one of those things, like a reverse option where like at a certain percent it becomes unlocked. Like at 0, you can crouch cancel Marth down air and just grab him for it. But later on, once he has more percent on you, then you can't crouch cancel it. But you can crouch cancel Marth Nair, absolutely, if you're close enough.
Okay. Another question. Sorry, I know you're writing stuff out.
No, it's okay.
But
I think probably what's gonna happen is this will be written afterwards, if that's okay.
yeah, that's fine. How do you deal with like? So every time I do threaten crouch cancel, and crouch cancel is really new to me. I was very guilty of not abusing crouch cancel at all.
That's okay. I was the same way when I started playing.
Back in the day. So so I'm just now starting to learn about like how good crouch cancel is, and you know, but as far as like crouch canceling and neutral and stuff, like after things, trying to bait things. Once I do beat a Marth once or twice, I notice that I get like down tilt spammed a lot, and
Okay.
I just don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, so basically that's just them adapting to your crouch cancel, right? So
Yeah,
one thing we'll talk about in terms of like how to adapt, which if this was written down again, I'm so sorry, but
I just don't know how to adapt to the down tilt because
yeah, well, you just jump over
I don't
it.
know how to play around it very well.
She can outrange Marth down tilt by just jumping over and fairing it, or Nair. Personally,
Okay.
I think fair is a lot better because Nair is more susceptible to crouch cancel than fair.
And fair is quicker.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you just jump over it. You'll hear about that a lot if you were ever to play Marth versus Captain Falcon, where because Falcon can like outrange, he's like faster than Marth, and he likes to play the dash dance game a lot. Down tilt for Marth becomes really good against him because now it's like, okay, I'm forcing you off the ground because you can't outrange this. But the only way he can beat down tilt is just by jumping over it and like stomping him in the head kind of thing. But once Marth starts down tilting, then he unlocks kind of thing, aerial spam, right? Aerials are really bad to just throw out on their own because Falcon will dash dance around them and punish you for it. So that's why you use down tilt to get him off the ground. But then he just jumps and then, it's basically you just play that little mix-up game. But it's the same in Marth Sheik, except with Marth Sheik, Sheik has more disjointed aerials than Falcon. So when Sheik jumps in the air, it's actually like a lot scarier for Marth to deal with because not only are her moves huge, but some of them are disjointed as well. And auto cancel, right? Like fair is insane to deal with for Marth. At least in like a neutral like poking perspective, right? It's terrifying because you could just do like fair and then like dash attack right after if you miss the down tilt and catch his dash back, Yeah. So yeah. Sheik's
Okay.
in my opinion, Sheik's neutral game relies a lot around crouch cancel because like I said, if you can just crouch and punish him for winning neutral and get a grab, then you win that interaction, Not only because you countered him, because you're going to get way more off it too with a grab. So doing anything you can to get a grab is like really important. So we talked a lot about like the burst range thing because that's something that's just going to be relevant for when like he starts camping you or he starts running away because he's scared of you, right? And that's like a real thing. But what you're really going to be looking for, like what people will call like the little tricks and stuff that I don't like talking about a ton, but I still think is important for this matchup, is like your different ways to get grab and crouch cancel. In regardless if you're fishing for a grab, an F tilt, or a punish, like an edge guard, even like crouch cancel is huge for Sheik.
Yeah, so I've learned that's why I've started focusing a lot on
yeah, no,
when I can't use it, and
it's broken and it's gonna change like your whole your whole game perspective, literally, about like how you play with percents and whatnot. Because
It already has.
yeah, like we were talking about like the things that get unlocked, and crouch cancel is just like layer 2 of that. Like it's insane. Basically, it's what makes this game like super super unique, I think.
Yeah, I've just been watching old sets and stuff of it doesn't matter what character, and I just realized like, oh, 2022 and like
Yeah,
23 has been the year of crouch cancel.
it's insane. Like you
Like
watch
I don't get didn't see how it didn't know I didn't see it before.
even old VODs of like 2015, it's like, wow, this guy looked really cool in this combo, but he would have died if they just held down, right? And I think most people
Yeah.
would just hold down now. So
Like that's the thing I've noticed too is that like I used to, when I mess around with Sheik and stuff, I used to jab a lot,
hmm
you know,
yeah,
because I thought it was like a good disrupting thing, and it's like I just get crouch canceled for that.
yep,
And it's like not even it
yeah.
gets unlocked at later percents, but
That's why that's why the spacing game in this matchup is like really important. Like why poking is like a huge aspect of it. Like I said, like you can't be up close and jab Marth, right? Because you will
yeah,
just get CC grad. But if you do
yeah,
a max range jab, or even better, a lot of the time, my opinion is an F tilt. Like F tilt max range cannot be shield grabbed or CC grabbed or anything, right? So I don't even think you can CC a max range F tilt because it'll just like go on like and punish it. Basically, is what I meant. Like I think the furthest ranging move Marth has is down tilt, and she honestly might be able to just put up her shield by the time the F tilt ends, and he finishes the crouch and start up of down tilt. So
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, all this to say, it's really important crouch cancel. Okay, so grab can combo and kill Marth 80%. He struggles to win up close air to airs with her disjointed aerials. And gets threatened a lot by Marth or Sheik's crouch cancel game. Marth does not like to be in Sheik's burst range of dash attack and boost grab. And then does not like to be in her boost range. He also gets edge guarded extremely hard and struggles to make it back on to, I'm gonna say this, play out of the corner. Okay.
Man, I never thought about like getting a backflip as like a thing I needed to practice tech wise, but
Yeah, no, it's crucial. It's like how you really use fair.
I had no idea.
It's insanely good in the corner. So that's actually what I just wrote down is
Really?
yeah. So think of it just from like in terms of like we talked about with the jab, right? Like minimizing same move, right? Same idea, but you're minimizing the risk of getting reversaled. Imagine Marth getting up the ledge and he just like rips an F smash or an up tilt. Or up tilt is probably even more relevant, right? Like
Yeah.
if you do the normal fair, like your hitbox or your hurt box is closer to Marth when in the corner. But if you do the backflip one, it's further away, but the hitbox is still in the same spot basically, right? So you basically what you're doing in the corner is you're putting purely a disjointed hitbox that has no risk of being like counter hit in front of Marth, and if it hits him, it kills him, and if it doesn't, he's still stuck in the corner, right? Marth has a couple mix-ups to get off the ledge against Sheik, and some of them are like a little gimmicky in my opinion. Like, and I'm struggling to learn this more and more against other characters. I feel like I have it pretty good against Sheik, but basically like the mix-up for Sheik of like back air off a platform, forward air in the corner, F tilt in the corner, down smash, like crouch cancel down smash. All those moves will beat like any Marth trying to get out of the corner if she gets the right timing. So what Marth has to do is try and find like a little opening where Sheik is committing to something like a jump to set up a forward air or a crouch cancel and maybe he just ledge dashes past her or something. But the good thing is because Sheik's moves are so fast and really not committal in the corner for her, like in terms of spacing or even just end leg, she can often just chase him down right afterwards. So for him, getting out of the corner is like a nightmare. And just as much as getting a grab is. I put this line at the end because I think ultimately this is like the end result of whatever you get for either a good grab combo or a neutral win. Is once you have him off stage, not only is Sheik one of the best characters at edge guarding Marth, which I should probably elaborate more just on like how strong she is at edge guarding as a whole, but he struggles just as much to get out of the corner as well. So yeah, just like we talked about how where's the image with the blue flower that Marth kind of struggles in this range. Imagine he struggles just as much with this range, but also he has nowhere to dash back to, right? And that's basically him in the corner. It's just that much worse for him. Because he has no
That
ability
makes
to
a
play
lot
that.
of sense.
He can't play that poking game anymore, right? Now it's just I need to beat Sheik's massive disjointed aerials that kill me. So yeah. Anyway, all this to say, very very strong, and that's why the backflip is so good because it kind of just minimizes that risk while still putting on that same pressure of like a win basically. So yeah, he also gets edge guarded extremely hard by Marth, Killer, and Sheik. Back air. And struggles to play out of the corner even if he makes it on stage. Okay, and now I don't have enough rain or characters left to loop. But it's okay because these ones are all this is all from the last one anyway, so actually I'm fine. So I'm gonna finish typing this after this lesson. I'll try and get it done before we play in the sub tournament later today, but worst case later tonight, absolutely. We'll have this written out. But for now, I'm just gonna erase all this so you have like the Sheik version, and then again, like I said, this will be fixed up later. I mean, there's still like the reverse end of it from Marth's perspective up here if you want to read it. I'm gonna write how to beat Sheik on this one after I finish typing this. Sorry. So here, how to beat Marth, how to beat Sheik. But yeah, I think in terms of like a neutral perspective, right? Like this is what you can mainly focus on. These are like your win conditions for winning neutral with Sheik.
Yeah.
In terms of like things you can practice, I know this was like a long ramble, just kind of introducing like the concept of like positioning, like what aerials are good, poking, that kind of stuff. In terms of what you could do before our next session, if you enjoyed kind of the way we spoke about the matchup for this time around, I would definitely recommend trying to find some good matches against a Marth that you think push you a little bit too hard or you struggle to find answers against. Or even just like you said about the down tilt, like things you can do to beat it or situations you want to learn to overcome. I'll give you the full write up for like the actual like how to beat Marth thing like I have here for this one. And one thing I always encourage for anybody who does book after a session, like I said, watch the video back in case we do answer it. But I don't mind if you do have a question still. But the thing I was gonna say was what I encourage the most is asking questions, even if it's outside of a session. I will always answer a question for you, regardless of how dumb you think it is or if it's a bad time or whatever. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. The only exception is if I think the answer is a little bit too convoluted and it requires like a big explanation. I might suggest we need a Metafy session for it, but more often than not, I will just say, I'll probably just write it out for you anyway. So absolutely feel free to ask questions. It's not a problem whatsoever.
Okay.
So yeah, like
and of course, I'm not going to abuse that or anything. I do really still want to do more
no,
coachings.
it's totally fine. I definitely recommend you to ask as many questions as possible. I think that's totally okay. Sessions are just great because then you have a recorded version of it, or if it's something's too long and we need to like go in game and kind of show you a kind of thing or play it out like that, then it gets more helpful for that. But I really don't mind helping you out outside of our scheduled time as well. So yeah, as far as like homework or anything like that, I don't usually give out homework, but I think just for the beginning, just because we're starting from such a basic one, I think if we were to do another session together, I think a VOD review would probably be a really good idea. Once we kind of lay out and establish like the rules, basically, that's how I kind of describe these basic matchup things is like the rules for how to beat Sheik or how to beat Marth. we can kind of like start pinpointing in your matches specifically like where you need to work on most, and kind of like how those interactions work. So yeah, if you want to play me, even we can do that, or you can play someone who's like maybe you find is a really good practice partner, or someone who's pushed you really hard in a bracket. Those would be the types of matches I would suggest. If you just send me a VOD of you stomping a Marth, it's just gonna kind of be a blowout, right? So
it's not useful.
yeah, exactly.
I was actually, when I booked this session, I thought it was going to be us playing.
Okay.
Which is funny actually. So, but yeah, I would love to play you because I know you're really good, and I know
Yeah,
you'd
sure.
actually.
No, I appreciate it. But yeah, we can absolutely do that next time for sure. But yeah,
I know you'd really push me, and like you'd be able to really expose,
sure.
what I need to work on.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that at all. And then yeah, I would still suggest regardless, just in case, like if I beat you too hard, I don't, you know what I'm talking about, where people ask like, what can I work on? It's like you say like you can work on neutral, punish, edge guard. It's like everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So try and find a a Marth that's like really close to your level, that pushes you just enough, but you can like sometimes squeeze out wins against them, or like just that range. But we can still play, absolutely. I don't mind that at all. I just think having that in your back pocket is like a really good idea.
Yeah, I'll be prepared with some of that. I mean, I play a lot of ranked.
Okay.
So
that's perfect.
There's no shortage of me getting whooped on by Mars and ranked.
What rank are you?
I'm silver 3 right now.
Okay, nice.
That's not gonna last for very long.
No, you're gonna get.
I'm putting things together.
I'm gonna say you're gonna get way better. Yeah.
Yeah, like I already am a ton better, just like from tech practice and stuff. It was like just a lot of flubbing stuff, but
yeah,
and then being beaten by Marths.
Marths and Falcons. Yeah, they're
my two hardest.
They're killers for sure in ranked, especially if you feel lost in those matchups. It's just the worst because it's like Puff almost kind of, except they're less campy, but like. You'll just often feel like they're doing the same thing over and over, like back air over and over kind of thing. Laser, F smash, over and over. You don't know why. But once we start talking about like positioning, I think positioning is just like the biggest thing against Marth in particular. Like positioning and like how that kind of intertwines with how you play neutral and how you play aggressive or defensive. I think you'll start beating Marths really quick.
Yeah, that was already super helpful because I've always like thought of like threat bubbles as like, okay, how can they threaten me? And I should be spacing around that. I haven't really thought about it as like, what's my threat bubble and where should I be threatening type of thing.
Literally, it's everywhere. It's in this matchup. The only time it isn't is at Marth's tipper spacing, and that's the only time. Even then, you can weave in and out of it, right? So
right.
Sheik actually does outrange Marth in that sense, but it's just for the specific time for when those hitboxes are out. Then it's really, really scary for her. But again, you have so much counterplay in every area, even with that, like crouch cancel and stuff. That like we'll talk about it more once we get into VOD analysis for sure. But I think there's a lot of stuff you can have in your back pocket. So. There's no shortage of it, basically is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, okay, I will write this up for you. I'll try and get this to you as soon as possible. I have to head out a little quick bit before I go streaming, so it might be a little tight.
I've already kept you a little bit too long, so
no, it's no problem at all. I will have this video up for you. I'll start uploading it before I leave, so I'll start uploading this so you have it. Hopefully, by the time the tournament comes around, you can take some notes and maybe have them prepped. Because I do think there is a Marth player who's in our tournament. So maybe...
Oh, yeah. No, by tournament, I'm going to be Grandmaster. And...
yeah, easily.
And yeah, I'll just win.
Yeah.
It's all good.
No worries.
That's all I needed, really.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll talk soon. I'll talk to you in a couple hours when the tournament's going on. But yeah. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for booking.
No, I appreciate it, dude. No, I'm so excited, honestly.
It's no problem at all.
This is really awesome.
No worries. All right, I'll talk soon. Have a good night.
All right, you too, man.
Bye.